Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Tabs, and welcome to episode 72 of the Grove Podcast. I hope you're all doing very well and have managed to recover and your heart rates have returned to normal after that amazing, pulsating, enthralling doozy of a game that was Benfica versus Barcelona the other night. So that was one hell of a game. As for Arsenal, well, we got the job done. We did what we needed to do, and we move on. And to talk about all things Arsenal, Zagreb, and so on is joining me today is Jamie. Jamie, how are you? And have you managed to find some enthusiasm about the game?
Not particularly, but you know.
And there you go, listeners.
Honest,
you can,
and, it's not really made the experience stand out anymore. It's just, it was a night. It was fine. Nobody seemed to get badly hurt. Life moves on.
And there you go, listeners. You can tune out now because my job today is all about extraction of enthusiasm. But we'll be talking about transfers. We'll be talking about Wolves, so it'll be fine. We'll have some good chat. I'm sure. I promise you. So please stay. Please stay. Look, now before we get onto the show proper, today is actually a very special day in the Grove podcast. After 1 year, they'd expect me to be able to speak. But look, you may have guessed from the intro music, today the Grove is actually 1 year old. This time last year, we had our first pod post Dubai. Arsenal, not us, unfortunately, as we beat Palace 5-0 at home. And to celebrate the occasion, and look, he's going to love this. I think his head is actually not actually going to fit on screen by the time we finish this. Is our very temporary guest due to commitments. Is the reason we're here. We wouldn't be here without him. It was the man who had the idea that another Arsenal podcast is what the world needed. Our founder, our inspiration, the one and only Mos. Happy birthday, Mos, and how are you?
Happy birthday, one and all. Tabs, you look like Santa Claus today with the red hat and the white beard, and it's just, you look... Is that... There we go.
It's just pure Arsenal hat and laziness from shaving. I'll get around to it eventually.
No, good to be here. Funny how some things never change with Jamie. We win 3-0 against Zagreb and he's still not happy. It's just, it's almost like looking back at me through the season. But yeah, just really, really privileged that we've been here for a year and you have taken over the reins, so to speak, the last few months and done a great job, even though you can't get your words out today. I haven't obviously put your teeth in this morning yet. And it was like, who would have thought after beating Palace 5-0, we started a podcast, we thought it was only going to get to maybe 5-10 people in the Grove WhatsApp group chat. Now, since then, we've spoken with Ian at Arse Cannon Picks, we've spoken to North Banksy, She Wore, Dave Seeger, and then obviously the big one, we obviously spoke with Arse Vision as well, and Elliot. So we've done well for a year. And look, most podcasts probably wouldn't last more than 3 or 4 months, but I guess as a testament to not only the guests that we've had on and also to you and to all those behind the scenes as well that have helped with the graphic design, the social media posts and everything in between. So privileged. Sorry I can't stay for the full episode. Just... some things in life, unfortunately, are more important. I never even watched the game last night because I was I had football training. So.
I know. I couldn't believe it. The text message you got. I called you out because you said, "Oh, what? Waneri played? Oh, we won 3-0." I said, "We're doing a pod tomorrow, and you haven't watched the game." Jamie, are you free, please? because if you think extracting the joy out of the game with Jamie, at least he's watched it. I don't know how and I know, Mos, you're a blagger at the best of times and you're very good at it. I don't think we could have carried this one off. So.
Listen,
but it's fine. It's life.
There was plenty of time for me to watch the game, but I got a very passive-aggressive text from your Tabs last night. You must have had...
I was tired.
You must have had a half pint of Guinness again and got steaming. Drunk off a half pint of Guinness.
Those are full pints. I've got big hands. There's always a full pint when you see those pictures.
And I got this very passive-aggressive... really passive-aggressive text. It was. I'm thinking back on it, and I read it last night before going to bed, and it really put me in a shit mood. So
I apologise. I was frustrated, but there we go. It's life.
you ruined my birthday. How about that?
Your birthday. Look, anyway, Thanks for that, Mos. And look, I would also just like to say thank you to all our listeners, all our guests, all of those that have supported us in getting the pod up and running. Particularly the Grove, the community from which this has grown, and they've even put their hands in their pockets and helped fund part of the pod last year. So look, thank you. We really appreciate your support. We appreciate your comments. We appreciate you taking the time to listen to what we have to say, whether you agree with it or not. Hey, whale. So yeah, look, big thank you, and let's see where this takes us. So we love doing this.
Massive. I was going to say massive thanks for the donations. We got to Milan for that for free. It was brilliant.
Yes. There you go. Shh, don't tell them. So anyway, look, that's enough nasal. Oh my God, I need to go and change my dentures. That's enough. Just that's enough. Anyway, so in this show, we're going to talk about the comfy 3-0 win against Zagreb, bit of chat about transfers, and then in part 2, we'll look at the Wolves game. So look, you've got your 5 minutes, Mos.
Yeah.
2 things. Well, actually, there's no highlight, low light because you didn't watch it. What were your thoughts on the game? And then you can bugger off.
I watched the extended highlights, so I did watch about 18 minutes worth of highlights last night when I was in bed. So really good performance. I just love how he scored so early on, set the tone for the game. Declan Rice seemed to play a lot further forward yesterday, which I quite liked. And Zinchenko in games where we're expected to actually win is not a bad player to have at all. Gabriel Martinelli looked sharp. I'm just doing your podcast for you right now, by the way. Gabriel Martinelli looked very sharp. The defence without Saliba looked okay, but Kivior, I think, when I was watching, he was doing a good job. And last but not least, we got to fucking see Kieran Tierney in the longest farewell of any player in history. I think we're going to drag this one out until the 31st of January. But he is playing more now than he ever has in his life. And yeah, it's just lovely to see. And Celtic are crying out for a left back. I watched some of their game, their highlights, and they're crying out for another left back just to freshen things up. So
and they qualified as well. They qualified for the for the knockout stages. Well, the next phase anyway. Those 2 whatever games you call them.
If they beat Aston Villa on Wednesday next week, they could finish in the top 8.
Wow, actually, and we want that to happen. So that would be interesting. And so a couple more things. Can we have a laugh at Man City from you? And your prediction for Wolves.
Just before I tell you my prediction for Wolves, Man City, that was their 115th game where they've been leading and then have lost. So 115 FC, here we go.
Very good. You'd like to see it.
Prediction for Wolves, I think Cunha's going to score
for
2
who?
goals.
For who?
But I think Arsenal are going to win 3-0. That's my prediction.
Sorry, I ruined your joke. I apologise.
Yeah, no, I think 3-0 Arsenal, maybe 3-1. I'll go 3-0. In fact, we're away, aren't we? 3-1, 3-1 final score to Arsenal.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, look, very good. Thank you for that little cameo. Just as good as Waneri's yesterday.
Yeah.
And enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you. What I've said in the last 8 minutes, guys, is what better than the quality of the stuff that Tav was saying out for the next 1 hour and 8 minutes. So I'll leave you all listening to that. Have fun, Jamie.
I've become good at editing, so we'll see.
All right, take it easy, guys.
Cheers, guys.
Bye.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Happy birthday.
Okay, right. So we're left with the real people. So that's good to see. So Jamie, as we always do, what was your highlight and lowlight of the game yesterday?
Highlight, Ethan Waneri taken to the fields. Great to see him back. And low light, I almost don't really have one, to be honest. Like, it's just nothing made me enraged. Nothing. Maybe it was the fact that Odegaard played the entire game, but you know me, Tabs, I don't like to second guess too many of the decisions of the manager. And if he didn't need a rest, maybe he didn't need a rest. But that kind of sticks out to me as the bit that I sort of came away going, it's a bit. Why did Oda play that many minutes? Yeah,
I mean, maybe a good job he did because he got his goal. So maybe there's a bonus that he did. But I was thinking, we should take him off. But I was just trying to think of then how do you reconstruct the team? But we were winning 2-0 at the time. You should be able to bring Marino on, or you should be able to drop Trossard back there, or someone back there to take him off. But I think there was a message he said before the game how much actually he likes the rhythm of playing. He's like that with, I think, like with Rice and him. And even I think with Partey, I think the reason Partey is staying fit because he's constantly match fit. He's not an in and out player. So I think maybe Odegaard's just one of these ones that he's more of a rhythm player. He's not in great rhythm, but he needs that. And maybe coming in and out of the team isn't his thing. And there's players like that. Players do need the rest, and the training helps. And whereas other people get their fitness through playing. So who knows? And yeah, so Arteta's the one with the numbers, and he knows what's going. He got his goal, so then maybe there's a benefit from that. In terms of my low light, I was struggling. So the best I could come up with was that I was a bit late. Well, I got to the game on time, but we were a bit later than normal. And my usual pre-match meal at Fat Harry's, just past Arsenal Station, they ran out of Greek sausages, and I always like the Greek sausage before a game as my pre-match meal if I'm coming with my son. And they'd run out, so that was my low light from the game. My highlight was I like the fact it was a bit of a distraction from our domestic challenges of late. It's been pretty intense. It was just nice to have this sort of game that we were expecting to win. I think we were pretty much going to win. Get to see a couple of different players. Just a different vibe. I thought the atmosphere was a lot better than I expected. The actual crowd did seem to be pretty good. The Zagreb fans were noisy and bouncy, which is nice. So it was just a different vibe. It was just nice to have that change. And I know it was like the 5th game in a row at the Emirates, so there's a bit of fatigue. I love going, and I don't care what the situation is. I love going, so I'm not that tired of that. But we've got a lot of football at the moment, so this was just a pleasant change for me. And so that was my highlight. So in terms of the lineup, so we had Raya. Then we had Timber, Kivior, Gabriel Zinchenko at the back, Rice, Odegaard and Jorginho in midfield, and Martinelli, Havertz and Sterling. Well, Martinelli and Havertz up front. So what were your thoughts with the lineup when you saw that? Happy with it? Do anything different?
I mean, Zinni sort of takes over all of your thoughts about that lineup, I think. At least for me it did. And yeah, kind of worrying a little bit about MLS initially, then thinking he's rested him, and then worrying about him again. But yeah, I think Zinni was perfectly fine. I think exactly as Mos said, you play Zinni against a team that you're much better than, then he's going to be on the ball the entire time, and it's no issue whatsoever, and you don't have to deal with any of his defensive lapses. And otherwise, across the rest of the side, I mean, I feel like I say this almost every time I come on in the last month. What else was he going to pick with who's available to him?
Yeah, no, true. I thought it was nice. I was really pleased that he didn't go Partey at right back. It was good to see give Kivior a chance. If you're not going to give Kivior a chance in this game, he's gone. He's done for the club. I think he's done for the club anyway at the end of the season. But what do you think? So it's just a shame we couldn't give another option to someone else than Timber, because he looks like he was in first gear, let alone second gear, and managing himself, and he's been running to the ground a bit. Jorginho, I think, was nailed on because they say Partey, Rice, they've all been playing. So, and again, if you can't play him in this game, Champions League, slower pace, less intensity, you got to play him. Sterling again was obvious he was going to start, and he's just replacing a body. He's giving someone a rest. We're playing with 10 men practically when he's playing at the moment. Unfortunately, he's just offering nothing. So all he's doing is just allowing someone to sit on the bench. And yes, the big
that is extremely, extremely down on the man.
No, it's what he offers. It's not on him. It's what he offers and how he performs. I'm not criticizing him as an individual, but it's just his performances and stuff like that. We're just getting nothing out of him, and it's just where he's at. That's his level. I think the only good news is that we're tanking his value for Chelsea, so that's just a whole shitload of money that they're gonna have to bin. I mean, I would even call the whole thing off. I would just say, like, just send him back. Yeah, I say, other than him taking up a space, other than him allowing Trossard to rest. And he's now down the pecking. When Aeri's back, he's now dropped down the pecking order. When Aeri will when we're making substitutes or we're starting, Winery will be above him, especially after what we saw after half an hour yesterday. The instant difference, pace, intensity, skill, quality, and again, it's about the performance that is being offered, not the individual. He can only do what he can do, and I'm sure he's trying his best. Unfortunately, his best is nowhere near good enough for what we need. And yeah, he's a busted flush, I'm afraid. And it happens. It can happen just like that. We had Willian at our club, and we saw the same sort of thing. So it is what it is. We expected something different. We hope for something different, and I can't see anything changing. So yeah, that's it. So yeah. But no, the worst news I think of the night was, we all thought he was being rested by MLS. He's going for a scan today. I think Arteta said, I'm not sure. He jarred it in the game against Villa and he thought it was okay. He finished the game and the next day it wasn't bad. And then yesterday he wasn't feeling right. Started the session, wasn't feeling good. So we got some tests. So hopefully nothing, but we'll see. So we seem to be one in, one out. So Calafiori, okay, he's not done much training, but he seems to be back. But then MLS, it would be nice just to have compound fitness, not just compound injuries. But let's see. Let's not get too much about it. So look, I think the lineup was pretty much as we expected. It's the sort of, if we can't beat the likes of Zagreb with this sort of team, we've got bigger issues. So in terms of the game as a whole, it's not one for stats. The game state and everything around it dictates how we played, and the stats are the consequence of that rather than any deep analysis. But in terms of the overall game and the overall thoughts on the game, what was your feeling? Yeah, I didn't read your full quotes in our chat, but I got a sense that this type of scenario is not one that you gets the best out of you as a fan, shall we say? We know you can do better.
It's that funny thing, right? So I can enjoy a non-competitive game. I can enjoy a friendly. I can enjoy a friendly mainly when you've waited and not watched any football for about 3 months. That's what makes the difference there. I love a Carling Cup game where we put enough of the kids out that you get to see them going for it. I think this kind of game where they turned up, they weren't very good. We are clearly a level above them whilst we're in like first gear, and we've scored after 2 minutes. Nobody on the pitch for us needed to get out of first gear. The gears were available to go through if you need them, but they didn't need to at all. And I just find that very, very unenthusing, because you're just kind of watching a training exercise to a certain extent, and it doesn't really, do much for me. If we'd had a couple of the youngsters out who were looking to make an impression, that all of a sudden brings a bit of excitement. But we didn't, and we used to do that I kind of missed that in the Champions League. We used to do that with Wenger, that if we ended up with a dead rubber in Game 6, then we'd stick a load of kids out. And this wasn't quite a dead rubber. We did need to win it. It was important. But I think the bench maybe could have just been a little more adventurous and maybe bring 3 or 4 of them on a little earlier. Having said that, we didn't do enough with the scoreline actually to make it as comfortable as we should have. Despite that early goal, we then sort of somewhat, I don't want to say laboured, because it didn't feel like we were trying that hard. We just sort of ambled our way slowly towards getting the next couple.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I think it's get in, win the game, no injuries, no stress, get out. And you can't assess the performance. And this isn't about the performance at all. It's about the result, what the result means, and the impact on the players. And to be honest, I didn't really, my expectations were we go in and win, see some goals. I wasn't expecting more than that. As you said, not getting out of first or second gear. And as I said, considering, I think it was 5 games in 16 days, 4 in the last 10 or something like that. You want low stress, low intensity, chill, comfortable win. And that's what we got. It's, as you said, a poor opposition, heavily rotated team. We're fatigued in parts. We're out of form in parts. We've got a big game coming up on Saturday. Yeah, all these just leads to what we saw. And for me, I was maybe for me, it was different. It was just nice to have that different environment, nice to have that different feeling around the game. So therefore, I quite enjoyed it. And I said the crowd seemed to be in good form as well. There was enough for me to be distracted. I was lucky enough that the seat next to me was empty, so my son came to join me in the second half. So it was good to have him there. So yeah, and there were some nice performances and some nice action. So I can understand and I can totally get the enthusiasm, but I'm not. It's just one of those games. Sometimes you just get in, win, get out. And just as long as there's zero impact on everyone, and as you said, training. I think the team have had harder training sessions. I'm sure Arteta would have had more intense training sessions, and then that's fine. So I think we got a lot out of it. Some goals for people, some good performances. So yeah. So look, it is what it is, and so on. And so in terms of how the game went out, you're right. We went 1-0 up after 2 minutes, and we're all thinking, "Oh, Bayern Munich 9-2. Here we go." And we have a bit of a laugh. And it was actually a beautiful goal, and we've not seen a goal like that for quite a long time. And that's a very Arsenal goal. Drive, pass, shoot. And the deft touch by Martinelli was superb. So yeah, it was nice. Took his man on the outside, on his weaker foot. And that touch by Havertz, it was such a deft. I think that was the perfect example of a deft cushion touch. And Rice, first time, Rice can shoot. And here we go. So here's a question for you. Who was the last player to score in the Champions League for Arsenal in under 2 minutes?
In under 2 minutes?
Yeah.
Good grief. I'm just going to take a stab at Sylvain Wiltord.
No, a bit later than that. Initials YS, and he was chaos personified.
YS?
Yeah.
Oh, good. Yaya Sanogo.
Sanogo.
Of course it is. Right.
Against Borussia Dortmund way back when.
That game with Yaya, when we thought, actually, maybe this is the...
He's the one. He's the new Kabadiawara. Look it up, kids.
Oh, good grief. I remember that game, actually, now. That is
I don't know if it's the one where he started ahead of Giroud and everyone's going, what? But
that was the game.
Was that game?
That was the game where everybody went, what the hell is he doing? What's Yaya Sanogo?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Absolutely fantastic. I'm pretty sure that the Tuesday Club pod that was after that game was like one of the greatest that had ever existed.
Yeah, indeed. And look, and so we're thinking, okay, 2-0 up, sit back, relax, and we thought goals galore, but that wasn't the case. I mean, I think Odegaard had a chance. I'm so surprised we didn't score from a corner. We were so close. Gabriel had a couple of chances from corners. Yeah. And I'm surprised the quality of the corners were high, because did you see the Rice getting, all the plastic bottles thrown at him, and that must have been a massive distraction for him.
Yeah, well, I was basically sat in the clock upper, so they were. He was.
You were throwing bottles at him as well, were you?
But yeah, I mean, I was absolutely amazed how many of the blooming cups managed to get there. In fairness, whilst their fans were, initially endearing with their constant jumping about and having a great time, and not even flinching when they conceded it.
That's great. I love that.
Hilarious.
Yeah.
It's almost like they were a dance troupe that just happened to be at a football match. They were pretty good fun, but the cups and bottles and stuff was all a bit silly. And the referee just told Rice to get on with it. So, hang on. Just get on with it. Stop complaining. Okay, so anyway, look, that's a referee from Europe right there, isn't it? I don't know.
There we go.
If you didn't, it's got to be a bloke from Greece or something like that.
Yeah, he was a bit weird. I don't know. I mean, it didn't impact us, but there were some odd decisions out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it looked like I think we were a bit bored, because the only trouble we had was because we caused it. I think Kiwior lost one, and then there was a period of a few minutes. Again, Jorginho lost it, Timber lost it. And that was the only danger that came from them. But it didn't come to anything. So the first half was pretty much that beautiful goal, couple of nearly moments, almost shot ourselves in the foot, but no dramas. And then second half, less less shooting of the foot. And my first note of the first half was the substitutions at 60 minutes or 58. You know, Sterling and Timber off, Waneri and Partey on. So nice to get Timber off, and yeah, as I mentioned, Sterling, yeah, he needed to come off, and good to see Waneri come on. And soon afterwards, it's 2-0 again. Great work by Nelly for the assist. Cuts in from the left, nice right-footed in swing in, curling inward the sort of cross. And Havertz had to score. I mean, we've seen recently he's had to score plenty of times. But if he hadn't have scored this, he might as well just carried on running and out of the stadium, you know, Forrest Gump style. Because it's so that was a lovely goal, and I think that I think Martinelli had a great performance. I think he was a threat, and so that's 2-2 for Havertz, 14 across all competitions. So on course for 20 goals this season, which for a non-striker is not bad. You know, what did you think of the goal? And Martinelli and Havertz's performance as a whole?
I thought Martinelli was really, really bright. You know, but I think we've seen this. My negative caveat is that we've seen this against substandard teams a whole bunch of times. Like if you put Gabriel Martinelli in against anyone that doesn't have, you know, a kind of a top 10 Premier League right back, then he will absolutely, you know, annihilate them. And I thought he had a really, really good game. And most of our good stuff came from that left channel between him and Zinchenko. Mm-hmm. And then as for Havertz, it was good. I think he got so much time and space that at times it felt like he was, like several of the players actually, especially in the first half, it felt like they were really overcomplicating things at times because the time and space in the box was just ludicrous. They're taking like any opportunity that came his way, he seemed to take a couple of touches on it. They tried the whole what they did for the first goal, which I agree, amazing deft touch for Declan Rice. They tried doing that about 3 times.
There was one. It was almost a carbon copy, wasn't it? In the first half,
returned the favour to somebody else, and then I think Kai did it for someone else too. There's 3 times they tried that combo, and I was just kind of going, "Is this? Have we been trying to do this all year, but no one's been shit enough for us to do it? Is this one of our
possibly
is this the next evolution of the Arsenal that we're going about trying to do cushion knockdowns for everybody else in the team?" And so honestly, that was kind of fascinating to me to watch us repeatedly do it from almost the same position every time as well. It was good, and I think the vibes on the left were great. Havertz as that kind of target man does his job nicely. That much amount of time and space, though, I kind of would have liked to have gotten, seen him get another goal or two because he had the opportunities. Yeah.
I got a theory with the time and space thing, and you're saying taking the extra touch. I think the extra touch at the moment is a confidence, fluency thing. You know, when you're playing well, when you're confident, when everything's going right, it's bang, 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 bang. So, and with the space thing, and I think we see it with Martinelli, we see it with a lot of players. I think sometimes the worst thing you can do is give a player space because then they have to think. And a lot of the times they play. Now, some players love the space and they know what to do. You give some. He's been in news recently. Dennis Bergkamp. You give him time and space, and he'll just pick it out, pick out the perfect this, perfect that. And there's players who can do that. There's some players though are better instinctively, and you give them time and space, and they have to think, and they give them a decision to make. It's a bit like when you're running in on goal, sometimes, or trying to take a shot. Sometimes you need the player in front of you, so you've got something to target around it. If you've got no one there, it makes it harder. So I think the time and space thing, depending on the player that you are and confidence where you're at the moment, it can actually make you worse. And he said, no, you need something to force a decision, to force an action. I
would just sum that up as Gervinho. If you recall, Gervinho, when he had no time and no space, was like Messi, and then the second he had time and space, and I mean a millisecond of it, he was absolutely bloody useless. Just his career. I mean, I did really enjoy you setting that up though with I've got a theory on time and space, which
I'm not Stephen Hawking.
Positions with Brian Cox for a little bit. We're just going to go into the physics of last night's.
No, not that deep. And then we had Rice taking over the Havertz Odegaard role with that header. unfortunately his head's too square for him to be able to guide it in, and it just went forward. It's like, and you could see he was so gutted. He even said, I think he was talking about it a lot in the post match, stuff. He's like, I'm so annoyed not to score the second. Honestly, I had the same position against Man United in the cup and I missed, and the same there. Look, I'm getting in the right positions, playing 8, and obviously scored a good goal in the first half, but annoyed I didn't get the second. It was just sort of like, hey, we're all thinking, oh, that's a goal, but I think we've been there a bit recently. But I think the fact that we're 2-0, we can laugh at it rather than go, oh, for fuck's sake. And then icing on the cake, 92nd minute was 3-0 Odegaard. Again, a goal from a cross. We seem to be, it's coming to focus really. We are now Crosses FC now, and along the ground as well as in the air, and bit of a deflection, which I think he was aiming for Rice, but deflection took it to Odegaard, and a nice run. To be making that run in the 92nd minute, okay. I think it was really nice and good for him to get the goal. But that's his first goal in open play in 28 games, so much needed. And let's see where he goes from here. And then the final sort of potential mini highlight of the match was a guy called Butler Oyeji came on for his debut. Now, do you know how old he is? Now, I said to Gianluca, my son, he said, "Oh, they bring on some youngster. He's some youth team player, like another 5-footer, unfortunately." But do you know how old he is?
He's 20, isn't he?
He's 22, apparently.
22, is he? Yeah, I knew he was aging out of the under 21s already. But yeah, and
he's been at Arsenal since 8. So I think that's just a case of you've got your Champions League performance now. You're going to have to find somewhere else to go because
it's a reward one. I mean, I think from years of following George Bird and watching maybe 5 or 6 under 21s games a year, he has never been. Well, when he was younger perhaps, but certainly last few years he's not been somebody that anyone's expected anything out of, really.
No. But he almost didn't get on. I think he was waiting on the sidelines for ages. and could you imagine we just played it out and then kicked the ball out? That'd be so annoying. And that's it. Game over. That's some stats from the game. Yes, 8 clean sheets in the last 9 at the Emirates, which is not to be sniffed at. We're not easy to beat, and maybe the Champions League is where we get our biggest chance of doing something special this year, because we're hard to beat. I think we are set up to be a Champions League team. We've only let in 2 goals in 7 games in this current format, and one of those was the shitty penalty against Inter. The other one was the corner against Sporting, so no open play goals. Havertz got man of the match, 1 goal, 1 assist. Nelly, I said we had a good game, 1 assist, 1 pre-assist, and I like the fact Rice seems to be back to form post Euros. I think he had a real post Euros funk, and the energy levels that he has shown the last year, he's back to his energy best. Performance wise, I think that can be arguing the team and all the rest of it. I think that's more of a team thing, but he's back to where we want him. So any final comments on the game?
No, I think just to agree again, and especially on Rice actually as well.
Okay. So, look, we said the Tuesday Club, and I saw a great question, whatever you call it, on Blue Sky from Tayo from the Tuesday Club. Who is the most useful out of the following? Sterling, Denis Suarez, or Willian?
Wow.
Yeah, exactly. That's a
could we not question. Get a 4th option of Kim Källström in there as well, actually?
You could, but it'd be just. Well, at least he scored a penalty in the Cup semi-final against Wigan or Reading? Wigan. So no, he's a layer above. I'd have to say Sterling.
I'd actually have to say Sterling. In fairness, I'm not as down on him as you are. I mean, he don't get me wrong, he hasn't looked remotely good. What he has looked is like busy, and at least like his pressing's been. He's been really good off the ball. And he hasn't felt quite as bad as Willian. Willian felt like watching somebody's career ending in front of my eyes. And
We
then
did all right at Fulham actually when
no,
he
that's the
left
thing.
us.
He's gone to Fulham. He's gone back to Brazil, and now apparently he's coming back to the Premier League again.
Oh, Jesus.
He just had an awful spell with us, didn't
Yeah,
he?
it happens. Yeah. I don't know. There was one moment
Sterling will go to like West Bromwich and be, the player
average.
of the season next season.
There was one moment yesterday when I think Timber went a wandering, and I was thinking, oh, our right back cover is Jorginho or Sterling. Oh, shit. Please don't break down the left or down our right, your left. But yeah, it is what it is. We'll see what happens. As I say, thankfully, Waneri's back, so we may not have to worry too much about Sterling in the future. But who knows? Maybe he will be one of these players. He'll do a Kim Kallstrom. He'll score one goal, and it'll be really important. So we're waiting for that one moment, and then he'll forever be in our. Kim Kallstrom's remembered fondly. So so maybe he'll do something to do that. So
he's remembered for one penalty he was brought on to score.
Brilliant!
I
love that. I love that.
One
of
my favourite Championship manager players of all time used to sign him at 16 from Hacking in Championship Manager 2, and it was amazing. Championship Manager 3, whatever it was. Anyway, did not have the career that I'd plotted out for him in multiple Championship Manager saves over the years. So I was. I'm not having Kim Kallstrom as being the best.
Oh, I love the cult hero status. It's great. It was so typical Arsenal signing someone with a broken back. It's like we needed a body, but a live one, please, not just any fucking body. But all right, anyway, there we go. Well, look. So in terms of the Champions League, we are now pretty much guaranteed top 8. So I think for us to fall out of the top 8. It needs all the teams below us that are in contention to win. So we're currently. I've got an old league here for some bloody reason. I've got it from Tuesday. We're on 16 points in third, so we need all the teams on 13 points to win, and we need to have an 8-goal swing in goal difference. So unless something remarkable happens, we're pretty much guaranteed top 8. However, I think seeding's important, so I'd still think when we go to Girona, I think we need to play to win, because if we get top 4, it just makes the seeding better. So we've got to find that balance between getting the top 4 versus we're playing City at the weekend. Luckily, City, again, we can laugh at. They are a good team. They've won loads, but fucking hell, if you can't laugh at City being 2-0 up again and then losing that lead and then eventually losing 4-2. You've got to take the joy when you can. They've got to go out and beat Bruges to make sure they qualify. If they draw or lose, they're out of the Champions League, which is hilarious. It'd be so brilliant. So there's a few clubs in trouble. PSG, you got the likes of Juventus, Milan, okay, Bayern Munich, Dortmund. Yeah, they could struggle to be getting. They look like they have to do the extra qualifying rounds. When we play Girona, they're out of it. So again, that should be relatively easy. So you're relatively happy with. I mean, actually, how do you like the format? What are you thinking of the format? And you pretty content with how we've handled things?
Do you know, it's not bad. I had my doubts when it first came about. It's actually worked out pretty well. It's been a reasonably enjoyable Champions League. It's just too long. I honestly think removing a game would be good, but I then also think as well we probably need to accommodate this form of Champions League. You need to chop off games somewhere else, and that's going to mean chopping them off in the league or something. So yeah, it kind of fun. I like that having got to this stage, there's a Man City going, as you say, in that position where they could be out of the competition is kind of fun, but. Yeah, there's just too much. And also as well, on a very Arsenal-related note as well, how the hell was last night a Cat B as well? That's another thing too. If we're going to have this many games and some of them against the likes of Dinamo Zagreb, then really we should be having some of these games be Cat Cs. Because that is more of a Carling Cup game than any other European game that I've ever been to, I think.
No, I agree. It's a tough one. It's a tough one, especially there's so many games to go to. There is no let up. Is that we played 9 games in January versus 3 last year. Yeah, look, I quite next week. I think where this comes to life is next week. Is it 18 games? Yeah, 18 games, all on Wednesday.
Yeah.
Now, if you think watching now for you NFL fans, if you think if they did the red zone equivalent of the Champions League, it'll just be like JPEGs. It's going to be just like every game live on one screen. So, oh my god, you're not going to be able to see it. So I don't know what the 18 game equivalent of a quad box is, but again, in joke if you watch Red Zone and into NFL, but it's like, yeah, that would be nuts. But I think this is where it'll come to life next week. Every few minutes it's just going to be up and down. Things are going to change. People are going to be in, people are going to be out. Goals are going to change everything. And I think that will be actually quite an exciting watch next week, especially when you've got the likes of PSG, Sporting, City. I mean, Zagreb are not even out of it. Benfica, PSV. I just think even Juventus, not Juventus. Those clubs are at risk of dropping out, and then you got some clubs who are at risk of not making the top 8 and having to go down. So Milan, Atalanta, Atletico. So I think that would be crazy. So I don't mind the format. It's the extra games that you don't need, and where do we find that space? That's just an unfortunate thing.
And not to denigrate them, but it's made for that crowd that are effectively, it's made for, and I am that NFL fan that watches on Red Zone. And also, NFL being an American product where they don't really have anywhere near the same affinity with watching live sport and kind of their kind of fan culture in certain aspects, especially at NFL level rather than at college. That's where that product's going to head to, right? It's probably where most of the products are going to head to be completely frank. Everything's going to be by design for those that are watching via TV and making them the most money. But it is that's more my kind of overriding intrepidation. The format's fine. It's kind of nice to play a wider range of teams.
Yeah, something different.
That's kind of nice. You're not just stuck with the 3 that you got drawn with. You're going to end up with 7 that you've been drawn with, and why not? Variety's the spice of life and whatever. Yeah. But it's just it just feels like the format is being made for a goal that at the moment, one of the key things is the fact that there's no coordination between UEFA with this, and ultimately the Premier League. There are stakeholders of each other, but there's not a united calendar that we're working through. And we've seen the same issue in a bunch of different sports. And unfortunately, it's affecting rugby, it's affecting cricket. Certainly in cricket, there was a point in time where those clashing calendars of different international competitions caused such a fallout that they had to go in and sort it. So hopefully we see that at some point in football, because at the moment, you take players, it's just not right.
And you take, was it? I could imagine AFCON next year. 2026, I'm assuming, because we haven't had one this year, so it's every couple of years as far as I can remember. So there'll be teams trying to qualify for Champions League, trying to do their league without, with players being off playing an international tournament in the middle of the winter. So who knows? You got too many conflicting interests. It's all about money, and also and this is also why we get the game we get last night. I love football, but I think we mentioned it before. There's too much football. So you're going to have more of these games where you're just going to make do. So more dilutes the quality. Now there's a fine line, because I'm happy going to the Emirates, and enjoying it, or watching football, or at least watching Arsenal. I know because there's more Arsenal, I've actually watched less of other stuff, other football, other stuff. So I'll just focus on the Arsenal, and if I watch other stuff, if we win, I'm more likely to watch other stuff, and if we lose, there's only so much Schadenfreude it's still only so much Schadenfreude makes up for what we do. So this is what you're going to get. The more football you're going to get more games last night where you just do the bare minimum to get through, especially against lower quality opposition. But even the bigger games, they will be lower quality, because two fatigued teams play each other. Okay, there may be the importance there, but are you going to get the quality? And do they say, you know what, we'll sacrifice this to go and make sure that we win the other 7 or something like that. So again, will something give? You got the Club World Cup, the most ridiculous tournament there is coming up in the summer, and actually I'm finding it quite funny that Chelsea and City are there, because that's going to screw up their seasons next year. So look, we'll see. We can't do anything about it. Let's try and enjoy it, and we move on. But it has to. Our expectations should be set accordingly. We can't expect us to be 100 mile an hour every game at the same intensity, and you're going to get games like last night.
And I think there is an element as well, like you were saying, of kind of inertia amongst the fans due to the fact that we've watched all of this pretty much at the Emirates as well. It's been the most ludicrous run of home games. Like
five in a row.
Five in a row.
So is it Newcastle, Man United, Spurs, Villa, Zagreb?
Yeah, and I do think that does seep its way into the stands as well.
Yeah,
it is that, and it sort of brings a certain amount of pressure as well, because you're expected to win all your home games. That being Villa away, I think we're not necessarily as devastatingly,
Yeah. You're still disappointed, but you take 2-2 away at Villa.
Exactly. There's a huge difference. So there's been kind of pressure on games because they've all been home games, and it's in full view of the fans. People are there every single game, and the disappointment just hurts that much more when you are as well. So
no, indeed,
that spell is over now, I guess, and looking forward. I don't particularly like how the fixture list looks, but it's what it is.
The next, Girona next week, then City, then Newcastle, but then I think we then get into a bit of a run of easier games. I said we're out of the cup, so we'll have a bit of a break. We should be top 8, so again, not those 2 games. We get a few players back at the right time. March time could start looking a bit interesting. And if we make a signing, which is a beautiful segue into the next part of the pod. Look at that. It's as if we planned this. If we have a new signing. I was trying to say, have we got any lands in the making? No, I don't think so. So we might actually have to buy someone now. Before, hand on heart, do you think we are going to bring in anyone in this transfer window?
No.
No. I'm trying to work out. If I'm honest, I'm saying no. The thing that stops me is I can't imagine that we won't, because that would be. And look, I'm sure they're trying. I'm pretty sure they're not sitting on their hands waiting for someone to give them a player. So I am sure stuff is happening. So it all comes down to how much they want that stuff to happen and how much they're prepared to do to make it happen. But you think it will get to the point where there's opportunities, but they will not scupper the bigger picture for the short term. It basically that's in essence that would be the only reason why we don't do anything.
Exactly, but I think they're trying to get somebody in. It's quite clear that there's activity and that stuff happening. There's the kind of talk that you get when it occurs. The kind of sources that you normally kind of trust are making clear that there's a load of activity between Arsenal and certain players and their clubs. The issue is, as we know, they do feel like they're somewhat perfectionist. They want to pay the right fee. They want to get the right player in, etc. And I think the targets that they're going for as well. And again, I think this sort of relates to what I've talked about before about recruitment in general, that we've moved up a level in terms of who we're trying to recruit. Actually, we've moved up a level in terms of clubs we're trying to recruit from a lot of the time as well. So we're very rarely doing deals with clubs that need the money as much anymore. That's quite a big difference maker too. You are not turning up at somebody that's desperate for your 10, 20, 30 million. You're turning up at a club that, to be honest, would probably far rather keep the player, don't need the money, and ultimately are just looking for a compensation for him. And that's a very different deal. Mateus Cunha from Wolves would be, in January, just feels like it's almost pointless. Like what's happening here? Why are Ruz and Forest actually pushing them hard on this one? Surely for Wolves, the value in that player is until the end of the season, and I do not see how they take that money and do something with it that gives them the equivalent value in the short term. And there's a whole bunch of players out there that will be in the same position. Sesko with RB Leipzig is the same as well. So I just can't see it until until the summer. I would love it to happen because I think we really need not only bodies, but we need an injection. You know, we need an injection of enthusiasm in every aspect at the club and in the fan base and everything. It would be so big. I wouldn't entirely rule out a loan or a Trossard style or Jorginho style kind of, short term deal. But I don't think anyone that I would foresee playing for the Arsenal next season is going to come in. And that's probably the better article. Okay. Because I do wonder if there's going to be the potential for something like that.
Okay. I don't know. I figured out who my lands is when we recall Vieira from Porto. So that would be like a new signing. So for the second half of the season. Look, yeah, you've touched on the biggest rumours. So the biggest rumours around are around Sesko and Cunha, which is interesting. There's a couple of elements on this. They're both at different stages of their career. They're actually different players. Sesko is more your proper number 9 target man, versus Cunha. He's a wide forward. Now Sesko, for me, of the two, and I'll ask you this question, I think he's the better prospect. That he has the higher ceiling, longer term impact, but he might take time to settle. Whereas Cunha is Premiership ready, but more of a wide forward. He seems like an expensive Trossard-like signing. So we get someone in, he can do a job for 2-3 years. We are not okay in this window. We are not finding ceiling raisers. We're finding people that will keep our floor, that are going to be floor raisers, that are going to be squad players potentially. I think Sesko, if he develops well, he could be a ceiling raiser, and he could be an option. What's interesting is I think we need both. Not them. We need both types of players. I think we need a centre forward and a wide forward. Are they the right ones? Don't know, but they're the ones that are potentially available. I think, and I like what's interesting. Forest have entered the battle, which makes life harder because we're not going to get into a bidding war. And also, I don't think Forest need him. Cunha, I would say, well, what's the difference between going Wolves and Forest? Wolves sell him because they're fourth. We'll touch on Wolves in the preview, but they're fourth from bottom. The 30 million that they get extra. So imagine he's worth 40 million and we end up paying 60 million, because if we pay more than 60 million, I know we're paying over the odds as it is, but then there's stupid over the odds.
Yep.
That extra 20 million over X amount of years is peanuts compared to staying in the Premiership. So so who do they get in to replace? So the Cunha one, even though there's rumours about we had the deal already done with the player and all the rest of it, it just seems like if you're looking at a last minute deal, for me, Sesko is the more likely one that will happen, because RB Leipzig are out of the Champions League, and maybe they're waiting for the Champions League to be fully over before they sell him. They're not doing great in the Bundesliga, so maybe they can start their rebuild. They'll get a bit of extra money. He's going to come and play. He seems to be the more likely of the two, even though Cunha seems to be the one that seems to be more linked. So, of the two, if you had to choose one, which would you prefer to get in now, and which one would you prefer to get in the future?
It's kind of an interesting one, actually. I think if I wanted somebody in right now out of the two of them, I think Cunha would actually be the more useful. I think the fact that he can play across the front line, yes, he's kind of nominally played wide forward quite a bit, but he played a number 10 position when he was at Atletico quite a lot. Has played as a number 9 a bunch of times as well. He's really versatile, so I like that side to him. I think his impact would be there right away. He's in the Premier League already. He should come in, hit the ground running, and just become something that we've lacked, to be completely frank. He's got that sharpness, that cleverness, and that ability to take on a man, and that's what I'd love to see. In the summer, different question actually, because I do think, I do really like the look of Sesko. I'm not sure whether if you didn't offer me just these two players, he'd be the centre forward that I'd pick for us. But I do really like the look at him, and it's very clear the club are enamoured with him. So probably a number 9 in that kind of age profile in the summer. feels like the right decision.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you go out and find somebody else who's better than Matheus Cunha, who's maybe...
Which you can do. If you must be able to find it. There's players that, I said I looked at a scouting video of Barkla the other day. He looked pretty good, and there will be other players out there. He's the one that you can find alternatives for cheaper. We're not getting Isaac. Newcastle will not sell him to us. They'll get rid of everyone. Everyone. Even. I was going to make some joke about. I can't even. This is where old age comes in. Who's the manager of Newcastle?
Eddie Howe.
And who's his right hand man? The idiot.
Oh, I don't bother with the carpet carrier geezer. What's his name again? He played for Burnley, didn't he?
Yeah, I was going to say they'd even get rid of him.
He's really used to play for Burnley. I can't remember.
They'd even get rid of him before they get rid of Isaac to us. So look, anyway, it was a stupid joke and it's not happening. But anyway, so look, it would cost 150 million. It would cost 150 million minimum, and they hate us. They won't sell him to us. So we have to get that out of our head. So I think centre forward wide.
The one thing I think that you've got to not rule out in that is that they are sixth. They are heading for a second season in a row without Champions League.
I think they could squeeze into fifth. They're very streaky.
They might squeeze into fifth. They absolutely might. They're they're competing with Forest for it effectively.
Yeah.
But they are also only a point ahead of Villa, who are coming up behind them as well and regaining form. Yeah, I'm just saying.
But then that needs Isaac to agitate a move, and then even then someone else may come in to get him. So yeah,
I wouldn't rule it out. Okay. The player is obviously in the form of his life, and when you're in that form, you should be looking to be playing in a team in the Champions League and that's competing for a league title. And actually,
but are we going to spend 100 plus on him? 100 plus on him?
I mean, if you look at it almost as a slight inflation on Declan Rice.
And also think of the rebuild.
Rice.
Yeah, think of the rebuild that we need to do this summer, because we also need maybe another midfielder. We're looking at Zubimendi. We may need another attacking midfielder. We're going to lose Jorginho. We're going to lose Partey. We're losing Zinchenko. We're losing Tierney. We need a goalkeeper. we need two forwards.
And I think that's the deal. To be honest, I think that's the deal breaker. Is that the issue is. I think honestly, I don't think it's undoable ever, because I think you can agitate players and make them want to make a move. But I think that you hit the nail on the head there. That the
Chelsea will buy him.
To do is we've got probably three deals that we need to do this.
We've got big deal, and we're talking 50, 60 plus type deals. So I think we can get him in the aggregate. We don't get him on his own, and you know who will buy him? It'll be Chelsea, because they'll have the money. Nicholas Jackson is disposable. Hey, come on, Isaac. We're now in the Champions League, because I think they'll get top 4, top 5 this year. They don't give a shit about money. They've got the money. He's not going to go City. But he's not going to go City because, they've got Haaland and they've got the Marmoush or whatever his name is. You've either got then Chelsea or you've got Liverpool. Liverpool won't spend that money, I don't think, because they're not getting anything for Salah. If he's going to end up anywhere, he'll end up at Chelsea, which is unfortunate and fucking annoying. But then also he'll turn to shit.
But you never know; he might stay around again, and who knows? I'm just saying. I'm just saying it's a bit of an odd one where I think there's this kind of almost slightly aura around Alexander Isak and how Newcastle could. Thwart Real Madrid or Barcelona bit going after him, and I just think it's kind of bollocks, because he's playing for a team that are currently sitting 6th in the Premier League, and ultimately players do make the move. Players, we've been in a position where we had an absolute load of money, no kind of concerns whatsoever, and we're finishing 3rd and 4th, and our skipper was getting taken off us regularly. Like, this happens. You have players with ambitions and players that want to move to clubs that they feel are moving forward rather than moving sideways. And Newcastle have ultimately moved pretty sideways for 2 seasons now, and I'm not entirely sure Eddie Howe's the man who's going to get that team playing any better than they are already. And I don't think they're doing... If they don't get Champions League again, their recruitment is stymied yet again by FFP, because they still make no money, because they charge... there's a bit of a regional economy thing here going on here. They cram a load of people in, but they don't charge them very much money, and they don't sell enough of everything else to the rest of the world, and that's what it is. So they are in a position where actually I highly doubt he's there in 2 years if they don't during that time actually push on and make top four.
Okay, interesting. And I'm really annoyed now because you've given me hope. You
I
bastard.
don't. In my heart of hearts, do I think he's ever going to join Arsenal? No, I do not.
I know, but I'm
I
all about that.
I just almost resent this idea of
that he won't. Yeah.
He's such an ungettable commodity, and I'm like,
Yeah.
do you not remember being an Arsenal fan? And you know,
true.
Van Persie went, and when like players will move.
Yeah,
And you only have to
actually,
pay
Van
more half the
Persie.
time.
Van Persie is the perfect comparison here, because why would we sell to a rival?
Exactly.
We were a dumb fucking club at the time. We got hardly any money for him, and then he made the difference and won them the league, and we didn't. And I think that is the comparison. I don't trust Newcastle.
And the contract situation's part of it. You know, players now are almost all, especially all the youngsters, that they're being signed up on big long contracts pretty early. And like the days of when we were running down players into the last 12 months and having a flogging for nothing is kind of gone. But the situation where the player wants to make that move is always there.
Oh yeah, if you want to move, you move.
Always there.
Yeah. Anyway, we're going to end up buying Vlahovic for 33 million. So end of. All right. Okay.
I'd really rather not. I don't know what it is about Dusan Vlahovic. I feel really harsh because he's got a decent goal scoring record. He's still scoring goals at the moment, and yet there's something about the guy that I just can't get over not wanting him.
No, however, if he's the only option and we get him on loan, you take it because you just
100%.
need something. You just need something there. So let's see. We've got, what are we now? 23rd. The window slams shut. Yeah, never gently closes or anything like that. No, it slams shut in 8 days' time. So we've got plenty of time for everyone to start looking at Man City and the 4 signings or 3 signings they made, but then again, they've got money to burn, so it doesn't really matter.
In fairness, they haven't spent any money for about 4 years.
No, exactly.
But they have just snuck in all these lot, and I must admit, I've looked at this Marmush geezer as well. I kind of heard of him, but didn't know a huge amount about him.
80 million. Again, that's what they can do. We would maybe pay 60. They can go in an 80. So our 60, our 50 is their 80 in terms of, equivalent to the club. Even then, it could be 40. They can basically double whatever we want. And City is always the wages. They can fucking just throw a massive weight. They always add an extra 50k a week on top of whatever anyone else wants to offer, and it's like water for ducks back for them. So
see, maybe, but I'm still sort of sat there going, they've managed to get a striker in for £59 million. Who scored 13 goals in the Bundesliga?
Yeah,
are we actually just not doing a very good job on recruitment at the moment? There's no doubt Edu being gone probably has been quite a bit of disruption for us, and they have managed to get 3 players in that are going to play in their first team within the next year, right? Or in January. I will say though, none of those 3 look like they're necessarily going to tear up trees from day one.
No,
which is maybe they're sort of content that they're probably going to get over the line, stay in the Champions League, and they're in a rebuild. They're not going to win the things that they're in this season, and they're a team that's there to win things, right? So it almost feels a bit like they've written that off, and maybe that's made their transfers a little easier. But it's just interesting to see that they've managed to go out and get those targets.
No, true. Well, look, we'll see. So we've got 8 days to go. Let's not all panic yet, but come 1st of February. I'm not looking forward to that. Let's see. Okay, look, let's quickly close out. We've got Wolves at the weekend. It's annoyingly it's a traditional 3:00 away game. So watching it is going to be the usual challenge, shall we say, fair or foul. So what are you looking forward to, not looking forward to as far as this game's concerned?
I'm looking forward to, I'd really love to see MLS back in the lineup. If that is something that's going to come true, then I'm looking forward to that. I definitely actually will look forward to seeing Ethan Danieri hopefully get a start. So the 2 of them, who I genuinely just want to see more and more and more of, if they get to play, brilliant. That's me sorted for a highlight probably right away. Not looking forward to hearing the MLS has been ruled out for 3 months with his jarred knee.
Yeah, it wouldn't. I wouldn't bet against it. What What I'm not looking forward to is the narrative around Cunha scoring against us, because that's just the way it goes, and that's the way our season going, and the player that we're linked with. You can just see it, you can hear it, you can see it. You just know the player Arsenal linked with scores winner against Arsenal, and after a dodgy decision by referee, etc. When he hit it off his arm and it deflected into the goal. All of the above. Every concept after having delayed the restart. So there we go. He delayed the restart.
The narrative that you've spun there, Tabs.
That would be the most narrative of all narrative goals you'll ever see. In terms of what I'm looking forward to, Wolves are fourth from bottom. They are currently got their new manager bounce was like a lead balloon. They've got player unrest. Lamina wants out. There's the Cunha speculation. I'm looking forward to us going in there and getting the job done like we did last night. Now we'll maybe have to put a bit more effort in, but we should be going in there winning, and we need to win. Yeah, just to stay where we are. Let alone forget about Liverpool. We need to just focus on staying second. Then what will happen will happen. So that's what I'm looking forward to. And in terms of the lineup, I don't think Waneri will start. I think coming back from injury, I think he's a good option from the bench. MLS is he's either fit or he's not. So therefore, that's going to be interesting. What we do? Do we have another Zinchenko game? Does Tierney come in? Calafiori, by all accounts, has only had about 20 minutes in training. So is he fit to start? So what happens at left back is going to be interesting, and I think that will also dictate what we do at left wing and left eight. Do you think Kivior did enough to maintain his position, or do you think we're going to go back to Timber, Partey, Gabriel, and whoever else on the left?
I don't think Kivior was asked to do that much, so I don't know. It's hard to see, isn't it? I mean, I sort of like the idea of going with Kivior, but the boss seems to just have a fundamental issue with putting the left-footed man in the right-footed spot, right? Yeah,
I think the Wolves game is more important for us to have Partey, Rice, Odegaard midfield than having Partey, Timber, Gabriel, another there. It could be also Kivior ends up at left back, which again I would not be adverse to, because then we just play, Kivior. Then who's at right centre back? But anyway, we'll see. Who knows? Again, is it the physio or is it Arteta picking this team? Because it's dependent on injuries. So we'll see. I think that that's going to be an interesting lineup. I think there's a lot of positions up to, and I think the front three will be Havertz, Trossard, and Martinelli. You need your best front three. They're the best front three at the moment. You've got Waneri as an option on the bench. He looks bright. And there we go. And then we have Marino as an option in midfield. Yeah, and I'd like to see Timber, Kivior, Gabriel, and even Tierney at left back. You know what? I'd have Tierney over Zinchenko. Timber can go AWOL. We have Tierney can tuck in. That would be fine. That would be fine with me. And yeah, that's what we do. But as I said, Wolves, was at home form. They've only won twice at home. They've drawn 1 and lost 7. They've let in 23 goals at home versus scoring 14. So their home form is pretty pants. They've lost their last 3 games. As said, they're 17th with 16 points. 4 points off Everton. 8 points off Tottenham. So there really is coming. It really is a bottom 4, and they're actually tied on points with Ipswich, and they're only above based on goal difference. They were poor against Chelsea.
They did score quite a bit though. In fairness, they just concede absolute tons.
Yeah, but even their goal difference is minus 19. So scored 32, let in 51. Now, even with our inability to score, we must be able to get some. Look, they lost 3-1 to Chelsea, lost 3-0 to Newcastle, lost 3-0 to Forest. So that's 9 goals in there. An average, drew 2-2 with Tottenham, and I think that says more about Tottenham than it does, Wolves.
Beat United 3-0 though, didn't they? So
they beat Man United 2-0.
2-0 was it? There we are.
Yeah, beat Leicester around Christmas, but that was almost a month ago. Yeah. And then they lost to Ipswich, lost to West Ham, lost to Everton. So they are not a good team. They are defensively poor. They have some threat up front. Cunha, Lamina, but Lamina's not playing. Ait Nouri, that seems to be the three. Thankfully, that Mosquera is out injured because he's but anyway, so we should be going in and winning. I don't think it'll be easy. Wolves away. I'm sure it'll be there, physical, shall we say. But we should be that, and that's why I want a physical midfield to match up. So, what are your predictions?
I'm actually going to go pretty heavy on this and go 3-0.
3-0.
Yeah.
Good. I'm going to be a bit more conservative. I think 2-0. I'm going to be going 2-0, possibly 2-1, given what might happen in the back four. 2-1, 3-1. You're going 3-0. So I'm not sure what's happening. And again, if we move the the pieces around, that's my only concern.
If the back four has a couple of absences versus what we'd like to see, then I think ultimately it comes down to the midfield to do a lot more shielding them and everybody. The defence is built across the entire team, right? And at times this season, the issue actually defensively has not been with the guys playing in the defensive positions, but I think the way that we've been across the team. Get away with it.
And this is why it's important to have Partey in the midfield, not at right back.
I think so.
That and that's why. So let's see. In Arteta, we trust, even though we may not agree all the time. And there we go. But should be another 3 points. Stay second. Keep the pressure on Liverpool. Keep our powder dry, and let's go. So look, just leaves me to say thank you. Thank you once again to all the listeners and everyone who supported and helped us over the past year. And let's see what happens in the next year to come. And let's hope we have something to celebrate at some point this time next year. You can follow us on Threads and on Blue Sky at the Grove AFC. And the next show will be post Wolves pre Girona, which will be another enthusiastic fest for you, Jamie. At least you don't have to travel to that one.
I'd like to travel to that one. It sounds pretty great.
I know. I think they've only got room for about 5 away fans, though. So it's not the easiest one to get to, but apparently a beautiful place.
Part of the unenthusiasm was also, bear in mind, we were again sat in minus conditions too. I think a little trip out to Girona to sit in their stadium in what they consider to be their winter weather would be rather nice for me at the moment. To be frank, I think all of my enthusiasm levels would be rising
up. Yes, indeed. So look, thank you, Jamie, for joining me today and for getting through this. I think you did a grand job. I don't think it showed. And as always, until the next time, come on you Gunners.